Hey guys, welcome to the help video for quiz 1.04. So here's your need to know info. We're still talking about similar triangles where the corresponding angles are equal and the corresponding sides are proportional. We also have two theorems that we talked about in class. We have the side splitter theorem, which I typically do like top over bottom equals top over bottom. And we also have the angle bisector theorem, where if you have an angle bisector, then again, you can kind of think about it the same way. The top over the bottom equals the top over the bottom. It just looks a little different. But we're still going to be setting up proportions and cross-multiplying to solve. All right, so in this first one, we want to know the length of CE. So this is a side splitter. We're going to take this side. Notice that it's split right here. So we're going to take the top piece, which is 8, and the bottom piece, which is 2, and we're going to set up a fraction, top over bottom. And then we're going to take our other side, which has been split, and we're going to do the top over the bottom. Now sometimes it's a little bit tilted and kind of hard to tell, but hopefully you can figure out which one's the top and which one's the bottom. Okay, EC, we don't know EC or CE, so I just went ahead and gave it the letter X. You could give it any letter you want. I just went with X. All right, and then once we have our proportion set up, we're going to cross multiply. 8 times X is 8X. 2 times 4 is 8. Divide each side by 8, and X equals 1. So this length over here is going to equal 1. And since it asks for CE, that is our answer. Okay, so in order for this side splitter theorem to work, these two sides have to be parallel. So in this question, it kind of reverses the order for us. It says, for which segment length is AC parallel to DE? So in other words, we're checking to see what makes these two parallel. If they are parallel, then the sides have to be proportional. So let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to go ahead and fill in this information. AD is 2, DB is 4, CE is 3, and EB is 6. So I'm going to set up my proportion. I'm going to say top over bottom equals top over bottom. And I'm going to see if this proportion is true. You can either reduce each fraction or you can cross multiply. I'm going to go ahead and cross multiply just because that's kind of what I've been in the habit of doing. And I get 12 equals 12. So because this is true, we know that this makes these lines parallel. Now let's do another one. Let's try the next one. So AD is now 2, which it already was. DB is 3. CE is 6. And EB is 9. All right, so again, we're going to set up our proportions to check to see. So we're going to do top over bottom equals top over bottom. And then we're going to cross multiply. And we get 18 equals 18. So these are also values that would make those parallel. All right, and then let's try the last one. AD is still 2. That's kind of convenient. DB is now 5. CE is 4, and EB is 7. So let's set up our proportions. Top over bottom equals top over bottom. Cross multiply, and I get 20 equals 14. Notice that is not a true statement, so those values would make those lines not parallel. All right, so the figure shown, triangle ABC. AD is the angle bisector of BAC. What is BD? Okay, so because it tells us that this is an angle bisector, we can do the same type proportion. Now this is going to look a little different because we're using these two values for a fraction, the 8 and the 5, and then we're using these two for a fraction, the 6 and the we don't know, so I'm going to give it an X. Now I tend to stick with top over bottom every time. But that's totally up to you. And for some of you, it's even different the way you see the top and the bottom. For some people, where the angle bisector is what they always consider the top, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and do x over 6. And because I did x on top, I need to make sure I get the corresponding part, which would be 5 over 8. You could have also done 6 over x equals 8 over 5. Those would give you the exact same thing. So either way you set up your proportion is fine. And then we'll cross multiply. And divide. And I got x equals 3.75. All right, so we have another one of those. It says BD is the angle bisector of triangle ABC. What is the length of AD? Okay, so again, I'm going to color code this. Just helps me see it a little bit. So these two pieces right here have to go together. The 8 and whatever length this is. All right, and then I also know that these two have to go together in a fraction, the 10 and whatever this is. Okay, since we're trying to find AD, I'm going to go ahead and let AD be x, because that's what I'm trying to solve for. I'm trying to solve for x. Now this one's a little tricky, because if AD is x, then how would we write DC? Well, that's where the total length comes in. Since we know the total length here is 6, and we know this piece is x, DC would be 6 minus x. Now that might be a little mind-blowing for some of you, but let's just put numbers with it. Let's say down here in this picture that the whole length was 10 and this piece was 6. Well, to figure out the other piece, you would do 10 minus 6 to get 4. So we would know that this piece is 6 and that piece is 4. We're doing the same thing, we just don't have numbers, we have letters. Okay, so now that we know that, we can go ahead and set up our proportion. I'm going to do 8 over x equals 10 over 6 minus x. Top over bottom equals top over bottom. And then we can cross multiply. Now remember, we want this 8 to be multiplied to both parts. So we need to make sure that we distribute that 8 to both of them. We need to do the 8 times 6, and we need to do the 8 times negative x. And then we also need to cross multiply this way. 10 times x is 10x. And now you'll notice we have x's on both sides, so I want to get them onto one side. Typically, I move my x's over here, but since my numbers are already over here, I'm actually going to move my x's the other way. It'll just make it one step shorter. So I get 48 equals 18x. Then I can divide each side by 18. And I get x equals 2.6 repeating. But that doesn't say solve for x. It says what is the length of AD? Oh, don't you know? I labeled AD as x, so yay, we are done. And I cut off part of the question here. Kind of mad at myself. It'll tell you how to answer it. So it'll tell you, whether you want to go to the tenths decimal place or the hundredths, or leave it as a fraction. I accidentally cut it off, so I'm not exactly sure how it wants that answer. So make sure you read that really, really carefully. I'm taking a wild shot at the dark here, and I'm thinking it might want 2 decimal places. But again, I accidentally cut it off, so I'm not sure. So read it carefully before you put that answer in. All right, good luck on your quiz.